Independent senator from Vermont and former Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. Senator, good to have you with me.
Good to be with you.
You heard Rand Paul, some of his arguments there. He says insurance is too expensive.
This bill. I also heard, Aaron, if my earpiece was correct, I heard him talk about gulags. I live 50 miles away from Canada, where they manage to guarantee health care to all people at a far lower cost per capita. We have national health care throughout every major country in Europe, the UK, France, Germany. Not quite sure that they are gulags. The truth is that the United States of America today is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, and we end up spending far, far more per capita on health care and prescription drugs.
So when it comes to Senator Paul, I was curious if you actually agreed with him on something here, which is the point that he made that insurance is too expensive. This bill, as it is constructed, the GOP bill that is now not getting voted on, he says it would bail out the big insurers. It sounded to me like you and he would actually fully agree on those points.
Well, I'm not quite sure that we would. Of course, we are the only major country on earth that allows for-profit private insurance companies to make huge profits. We allow drug companies to make incredible profits, and we've got to deal with that. But the bottom line is getting back to this legislation. What this legislation was about that the Republicans today couldn't get the votes for, it would have thrown 22 million people, mostly lower-income people, off of health insurance. These are people with cancer, with diabetes, with heart disease, children with disabilities. This bill would have substantially raised premiums for older workers. You're 62 years of age, you're making $45,000 a year. Would a defunded Planned Parenthood, massive cuts in Medicaid, which impact people in nursing homes. So, this was a disaster, and I'm glad at least temporarily the American people were able to defeat it.
I'm going to come back to your use of the word disaster, but first let me just ask you this, because when you said the 22 million people being thrown off, you know, the CBO does say up to 15 million of those could be people who choose to not have health insurance because they're no longer charged a penalty to do so. So that's very different than being thrown off.
Aaron, no, not really. I mean, again, we are the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people. So if you're 21 years of age and you're feeling great today and you walk out and you get hit by a bus, well, you know what? You made a bad choice by not getting health care. Health care is a right, not a privilege. Everybody can get sick. Everybody can have an accident. Everybody in America should have health care, in my view.
So you refer to the GOP bill as a disaster. I want to get back to that word because the president today met with Republican senators to try to get them on board. Obviously wasn't successful at that, but he also used the word disaster to refer to a different health care bill. Here's the president.
We have really no choice but to solve this situation. Obamacare is a total disaster. It's melting down as we speak.
It's an oft-used word these days. But look, he has a point, Senator, right? Premiums up by an average of 25% in the 39 states that use the marketplace. Doesn't the president have a point?
Well, first of all, if you ask many of the leading insurance companies, what they will tell you is that one of the reasons that premiums are going up as fast as they are has to do with the fact that the Trump administration is sabotaging Obamacare in terms of hesitating on cost sharing and on individual mandates. So less money is coming into the system.
But to be fair, they were going up before Trump won.
They were. Yeah, fair enough. Look. I voted for the Affordable Care Act. It has brought 20 million more people into the ranks of the insured. It has dealt with the issue of the obscenity of pre-existing conditions, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But Aaron, if your question to me is, do we need to significantly improve the Affordable Care Act? The answer is absolutely. But you don't do that by giving $500 billion in tax breaks to the top 2% and massive tax breaks to the insurance companies and the drug companies. What the Republicans have proposed is not a cure, an improvement over Obamacare. It is a massive tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country.
So when you say that you know that there do need to be changes, though, the Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, he was asked today if he would involve you, Democrats, in the health care talks, and here's how he responded.
Will your ongoing discussions involve Democrats at all?
They're not interested in participating in this.
Are you part of the problem?
Look, Aaron, Mr. McConnell, Senator McConnell, has guided this whole approach without holding one hearing. I'm a member of the Health Education Committee. There have been 0 hearings for legislation which will impact 1/6 of the American economy and every single person in this country. Of course, we want to be involved in the discussion as to how you improve the Affordable Care Act, not how you throw millions off it and give tax breaks to the rich. What can you do, for example? All right, one of the things that you can do is lower the age of Medicare. Right now it's 65. You bring it down to 55. It's going to solve a whole lot of problems for older workers. Second thing you could do, in states where there is not a lot of competition, you can have a public option. You can make something like a Medicare plan or a Medicaid plan available to everybody at a reasonable cost. Third thing you could do to save a whole lot of money is to lower the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs in this country right now by allowing pharmacists and distributors to buy lower cost prescription drugs from Canada and in other countries, substantially lowering the cost of prescription drugs and health care in America. So, of course, we would like to be involved, but not to throw people off of health insurance and give tax breaks to billionaires, but in fact to deal with the problems of Obamacare, which the deductibles are too high, premiums, co-payments are too high. Let's address that.
Senator, before we go, just one other question. We understand your wife has hired a lawyer to represent her in a possible probe into a land deal that fell apart. This was back when she was president of Burlington College,
no,
of course,
it was not
in your
when
state.
she was. Oh, let me say a word on that. You know.
Yeah. Well, I just want to ask you: do you know she's
wife,
under FBI investigation?
Excuse me. My wife is about the most honest person I know. When she came to that college, it was failing financially and academically. When she left it, it was in better shape than it ever been. 5 years later, just at the moment, coincidentally, no doubt, when I'm a candidate for President of the United States, Donald Trump's campaign manager, a vice chairman of the Republican Party in Vermont, launched this investigation. So all that I will tell you now, Erin, it is a sad state of affairs in America, not only when we have, politicians being destroyed, when there are attacks against elected officials, when you go after your wife, people's wives, that is pretty pathetic. And that's where we are right now. That's about all that I'm going to say.
I do just want to understand, though, at this time, do you have any knowledge as to whether she's under FBI investigation?
That's all that I want to say, and we'll let it play out. But I think it's fairly pathetic that when, people are involved in public life, it's not only that they get attacked, but it's their wives and their families that get attacked. That's what this is about.
Senator Sanders, thank you.
Thank you.
And out front next, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman meeting behind closed doors with investigators about Russian meddling. What did he